Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
I don't really have anything. Actually, there was something I'm going to talk about, but I'll talk about it later. Talking about guest posting guidelines and stuff. But other than that, whatever you guys want to talk about. And if y'all don't give me something to talk about, you're going to hear more about my garden.
Well, I would like to share my screen after the meeting is over with. I wanted to show you something that was
Okay, yeah, just to remind me before we hang up.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't sure if I could join or not, but I'm gonna listen in as long as I can.
Okay. Yeah, I saw your I can't go thingy, so I was like, oh, she's here.
Yeah. I was coming, then I wasn't, and now I am. So my mom's sick, and I stay with her about 3 days a week. So we just kind of keeping an ear out for her, make sure she's okay and stuff. So
okay.
And I know I should be working on my boot camp stuff, so that's kind of why I was hesitant. But I like to get some inspiration from these chats too. And have you ever heard of the whole concept about bagged lettuce and how it's fresh when it's really flat, because then as it ages, the lettuce emits gas and then the bag expands. It sounds really gross, so I might have to start my own lettuce garden.
Well, here's another tip too for those that, so it's totally not blogging, but whatever. You brought it up, so it's your fault. You can't blame me for this one. So when you buy the bags, like the mixes already and it's chopped up, that stuff seems to get slimy, soggy faster than when you buy like the head of lettuce or the fresh greens, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny. I mean, it's all mixed up, so you don't have to chop it. I mean, it's literally all 5 or 6 different things mixed up, and that's why people buy it. And then it's like 3 times as much money too. So not only do you pay more, but it goes bad like within 2 or 3 days. The reason is that the gases build up, but also the leaves touching the plastic is what actually is expediting that rotting process. So if you buy like not a ball head of lettuce, but like the Napa cabbage, the ones that you can romaine lettuce, you can break off the big ones, kale, any of those. Don't rinse them out when you bring them home, but take them out of the plastic, the bag that you get to put it in. Take it out of that and break it apart and wrap it in paper towels, and then just sit it in your crisper or in the thing. You can even put it back in the bag, but so the ends of the leaves are touching the paper, not the plastic. I got some lettuce in there or some romaine because mine hasn't grown yet. It's been in there for almost 2 weeks and it is still good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was a trick I never knew about. And I was like, okay, 1, I'm stop buying the bag stuff, but 2, buy it fresh. And then it takes, maybe 15 minutes, depending on how much you buy. Just pull everything out, wrap them completely like in just 2 or 3 paper towels around it, and then stick it back in the bag and it will stay fresh.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So I was like, where have you been all my life? Because I throw a lot of that salad mix away.
I do too.
Okay, does anybody have any blogging questions? I gotta make sure I offer that. We're gonna take this from blogging Fridays to gardening Fridays.
Let me ask you, well, nothing is too silly.
Correct.
Okay, but I feel as though it might be. Okay, now on your post, and I know it'll take Google for a while before they go through and search everything out. But when do they actually start grading each post? I've noticed on your post, if you go back to your post, all of your posts, and you have grades where they done start, I don't know whether I'm using the right terminology, where they done start listing numbers where, maybe 85 out of 100. When do they start doing all of that?
No, so that's not Google. That is Rank Math.
Okay, that's Rank Math.
Yeah, so for each post, it's just giving you Rank Math's grade as to whether it has good SEO or not. Several of mine are red because I don't really pay attention to that grade. That has really nothing to do with anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just, like Yoast and Rank Math. you get an overall SEO score. The plugin gives you a score based on the word you put in the keyword box. And if you've used that phrase certain places, and that score really has zero bearing on your ability to get ranking on page 1.
Oh, okay, okay. I was just wondering about that. I was beginning to get concerned, because I just noticed it on your, all of your posts, and I was wondering about mine.
Yeah, let me share my screen here. You're talking about this right here?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just the SEO score from Rank Math. So like, that one has a grade of 50. It's because I didn't use the phrase exactly. So it gave me a low score, but it doesn't. So in the post itself, when you click on, that's the score right there. And it's telling me all the reasons it gave me a failing score. But I don't pay attention to that at all.
So this, you don't pay any attention to what they're saying over here?
No, because so my focus keyword, the one I put in here, Valentine's Day scripture. My title is Valentine's Day Bible verses. So I didn't put Valentine's Day scripture in the title, so it took points away.
Oh, okay, okay.
There's some other, the keyword density, how many times I use Valentine's Day scripture. But if you do that, this is where I say you need those variables. So Valentine's Day scripture, Valentine's Day Bible verses, those are variables of the same thing. So instead of using scripture every single time, sometimes I say verse. It's still the same thing, but because I didn't use scripture a certain number of times, because that's the word I put in the box, it took points off.
Right, okay.
So again, I personally do not pay any attention. Like I write my outline, I write and fill in the outline, and that's what it is, regardless of what Rank Math tells me.
Okay. Okay.
So what are the rules of what you put in the focus keyword box?
I mean, just pick something. You need to put something in there just as a, but if I decide to put Valentine's Day Bible verses instead of scripture, it's giving, so that gets inserted somewhere in the back end that we can't see. So the crawlers see that as kind of what this post, it gives the crawlers a preliminary, hey, this is what this post is about. But too often we get focused on that word, right? And then we forget about the variables and the relateds and all that. So like in this case, I could have chosen Bible verses instead of scripture. It doesn't matter. It's just, what is the point of the post, and just pick one. So like if you had how to be thankful, how to show gratitude to God, those all say the same thing. Just pick one of them. It doesn't matter if one has 1,000 search volume, the other has 500 search volume. Both of them should be in the post. So just put one of them. It doesn't really matter, but just understand that whichever one you put in here, if you don't use that one over and over and over in the post, you're going to get red marks, right? Like I have on this one. And that's okay as long as the post is answering the search query.
Thanks.
So it's okay to use different searches. Can you use different, like on your own outline, can you use keywords from similar but a little bit different searches?
Give me an example.
Like say you were looking up Bible verses, whatever, about Valentine's, and then you used some of those, like the keywords everywhere, and then you also looked up scriptures for Valentine's Day and there was something different there. Could you use that both? Is it okay to do that? Or shouldn't you combine?
Chances are with something like that, what you're going to find is going to be the same stuff. In your search for Bible verses, those related and everything that's over on the right hand side, the keywords everywhere gives you, it's going to list scripture. If you did scripture search, it's going to list verses. And most of the other things in there are going to be almost identical. I mean, if there's some random ones, then sure, throw them in there. But again, it just comes back to what's the point of this? Say it as many ways as possible and include the variables of it. But those are
Okay.
literally the same thing. Am I looking for scripture or am I looking for a Bible verse? Yes. It's the same answer. And so it's just some people say it this way, some people say it that way. And so by making sure both words are in your post, you have a higher chance of ranking for whichever way they Google it.
All right.
All right. What else?
I have a question. I have something happened last night. I don't know whether it was because my WordPress updated to the next level up or what, but when I went to look at my website last night, every blog post had gigantic letters for the words. I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah, there was a major WordPress update. I should have mentioned this, but I mention it every time and I just assume everybody's done it, just to turn off that update. So when WordPress does updates, hold on. So just for y'all's knowledge going forward. So you see here, it says WordPress 5.9. So there's two numbers, a number, point, a number. When it's a 2-number update, that is a major, major, major update. We always recommend to not install that update when it first happens, because usually it's like a lot of stuff has changed. And because of that, a lot of stuff ends up breaking. So then after a couple of weeks, a month or two, once all the bugs have been found, they release an update to the update, and that's a 3 number. So it'll be 5.9.1. 5.9.2 and so forth. Those contain the patches and the fixes for anything that the main update didn't do right. So what I would say, what is your host? Who is your host?
Bluehost.
I would you should have a backup, a 24-hour backup in your cPanel there. You might want to try to restore it from a backup to before the update and ask them to turn it off. You have to have it. So all these other updates in WordPress, all your plugins and all that, your themes, you can turn on auto updates or manually update them. Mine are all manual, so I have to manually do. I just do that for my own sake. But the WordPress update is actually managed by your host, your server. So I would tell them.
I didn't know how to turn it off.
Yeah, you have to there's somewhere in your cPanel, you have to turn it off.
Okay.
So I would reach out to them, do it today before the 20. I don't know how long your backups are. I think it's 24 hours with Bluehost if you don't have a backup plugin. Have them reset it to before the update and to disable the update. But you're going to have to talk to them directly, like on chat or something, to do that. And then it'll restore it to the way it was. And then you can wait until go ahead.
I actually went in and fixed them, but I don't know if they're fixed right, because the whole the choices for site typography it's a different looking thing. So I fixed it because my older blog posts before, I don't know, maybe even before 4 months ago, were not affected. So I just went through, I stayed up an extra hour last night and just went through and changed it all block by block. But because it was horrible, I couldn't stand it.
So you mentioned typography. You're talking about the font or the size or all of it?
Size on the right, when I'm in what's the Gutenberg, on the right hand side, you choose your size, your font size, and it now has a little block. You have to pick a certain size. Before it was small, medium, large, larger. Now it has numbers, but the numbers don't correlate. 16 font is tiny, 20 is the next one up, and it is humongous, and 24 is smaller. It's more like 18.
So you
So
don't have a
I don't
default
know.
option?
No,
So you
No.
should have a default that is built into whatever your theme is, because every theme that, most themes, like Astra is a little different, that's what I have, but most themes, if you, it's a plug and play theme, it comes pre-coded with your paragraph is automatically a certain font, and that's what the default is. It defaults to the factory setting, so to speak, of your theme. So your H1, H2, H3, all of them are pre-coded into the theme. And so you would physically
yeah, my
change
old
it.
one had it.
Yeah. So that's
It
obviously
used to
one of
be
the,
like that.
so that's obviously one of the major things that they've done in this new one. And again, like anybody that hasn't updated, I would say don't let it work out, because usually there's a lot of major bugs that happen with a major update like this. And depending on what plugins you have, what theme you're using, it could it could cause some issues. So you said
I'll
you fixed
contact
them.
them.
So if you look at the blog post
I
as a
did.
reader, does it look right?
Yeah, it looks pretty right. I can pick a font size. There's a little thing that I can pick a size, like I can double click and overwrite the number that's there. But I'm not sure what size it needs to be, because it did used to be pretty standard, and I would actually turn it to larger rather than the
Yeah.
default,
So
because
like
the
for
default was pretty
mine,
small.
for my theme Astra, when I first installed it, I set it to be in the settings for Astra, not here in the blog post, for my font to be, I think 18 or 20 for text for the paragraph. And then my headings are higher numbers. That way it's,
Uh-huh.
because the old themes used to come with like a 12 or 14. It was super tiny when you're trying to read it like on a mobile device, and that's not really good for Google. So the recommended font for paragraphs for regular text is between 18 and 20.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll see
that's
if I can
new.
get.
Yeah, the update
it back.
literally installed yesterday. So over the next week, you'll probably start seeing a lot of people complaining in Facebook groups that they updated to WordPress and now their blog is broke. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so have them see if they can put it back to like before the update, and then
You
ask
should
them
be
to
able to do
stop.
that yourself. And you go into your cPanel. I used to use had Luvos a long
Okay.
time ago, and so you can go in there and it'll say restore from backup, and then it'll give you options, and you pick the one that's like the day before. But when you do that, you need to immediately have them ask them how to disable the auto update. Otherwise, you'll back it up and then it'll reinstall the update again. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my host, I'm with Big Scoots now just because my server capacity, I left SiteGround because of how much traffic I was getting. They do it by default because they know it creates so many problems. So we don't even have to ask them to disable it. I don't know why the other hosting companies don't do that, but. All right. All right. Just was somebody else had a question or was gonna say something? No. Okay.
Well, I do notice SiteGround go in a lot and update things themselves, update plugins.
Well, your plugins, you have to set those manually in your WordPress dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the plugins page,
Mm-hmm.
so SiteGround's not really doing it. Now, SiteGround does the WordPress update. Making noises outside. So if you go to the plugins,
Okay.
you see here this last column, enable auto updates, enable.
Mm-hmm.
If yours are doing it automatically, yours probably says disable. So you need to click it to enable it. Mine is disabled. So if I want them to do it for me automatically when a new update is available, I need to click this. Right now I have it set to manual. So for your plugins and anything on this list, you have to physically see, like this one says auto updates disabled.
Mhm.
That's the only one that's disabled. So like every morning I log in, I'll say, here's 3 updates. So I'll just come in and hit update, update, update. So I do them all manually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you have to physically change. That was an update that happened last year with one of the major WordPress updates. So now you physically have to turn it off if you don't want them to do it for you.
Mhm, okay.
Leanne, is there a criteria you follow on which type of plugins you accept the update?
I usually wait a day or two. So like today, if I logged in and it said there were updates available for whatever plugin, I'd probably wait until tomorrow because I listen to the chatter in some of the blogging groups that I follow and wait for people to say, is anybody else having this issue? I updated my whatever plugin and now it's broke. And that's just why I usually just wait a day or two.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't wait more than a few days because a lot of things that come with these updates are also security related. So they prevent hackers and stuff from like hacking the plugin. So it is important that you stay on top of your plugins being updated. But I mean, I wouldn't go more than a week of letting them sit there. A week is probably a good time frame because then all the people will have complained and you can figure out whether it's a good idea or not. There's only been a couple of instances, and I always let y'all know, hey, don't update this plugin. They found a security breach and they'll be releasing a patch for it in the next couple of days. I'll tell you, so if y'all, even if you're not using WordFence, I use WordFence for my security plugin. You can still sign up for their email newsletter and they will keep you up to date on all the plugin vulnerabilities. That's how I get notified of them. So that's a really good email list to be on.
Okay.
All right. All right, what else? What else? What else? What else?
I was going to ask you about what some of the different things on my Hrefs audit mean. Like, are there things that don't matter? Like, there are different colors. There's red and yellow and maybe green. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So
honestly, I would just ignore their audit. A lot of
okay.
Sometimes some of the things that populate are actually glitches because you try to track them down, they don't exist. Hold on, I'm bringing mine up. Yeah, mine are all passive now. You'll get some that have like a 5xx error, 3xx error. Look at the ones in red. Some of those are really not important, even though they're red. Sometimes it's letting you know of broken links. So if it says broken links or page not found errors, I would definitely check out those links because that can mean that you deleted something, it's no longer there. But if you're in the process of spring cleaning, like a lot of people going through boot camp did, right? Where you go through and delete all the stuff that's just, what was I thinking before you knew how to blog kind of stuff, then you're going to have red page not found because they were there and now they're not, but eventually they'll fall off. So I kind of just tell everybody those Href audits that they send you in the email, don't even go there because then you'll start freaking out. And most of the things on there are just completely not really important.
Oh, that's good. Because the things that I've looked into don't seem to be a big deal, but what do I know, really?
And if you just really want to know, if you take a screenshot of all the errors and just like send it to me, I can look through and tell you the ones you might want to investigate. But even then,
Okay.
start looking into them, and sometimes they turn out to be nothing but a glitch. I've had that happen with several people. They cleared up within a few weeks.
Okay.
All right, so I wanted to mention, while y'all are thinking of more questions for me, I think I'm a bit strong. The topic of guest posting. I know a lot of people are doing the guest posting now. The ladies in my membership, I know they've been offering a lot of opportunities. I offer them, mine are pretty full right now. You guys all know, you've gone through the boot camp. Guest posting can be really great for you to accept on your site, as well as for you to write for somebody else. There are benefits, but only when done correctly. And so I'm kind of going to go over some of and for anyone who didn't go through the boot camp, who might be watching this later, I think everybody here has been part of the boot camp, so you guys know. So number one, having people guest post for you, we know is good to relieve you of some of the writing. However, you need to give them something to work with, right? Create the outline, make sure it's something from your content plan. Don't just say, hey, I'm accepting guest posts on butterflies. Send me what you got, right? Like, I still see people doing that in some other groups. And so give them an outline. So at least if they have no clue, well, one, make sure it's from your content plan that you've done your research for, right? Don't have people write stuff that don't belong there. Give them an outline. So at least if they don't have any SEO knowledge at all, you're at least giving them a structure that they can work with, that you can kind of tidy up and make SEO good, right? Guest posting, I have several women in the membership. They're getting a lot more done now that they're offering up guest posting and relieving them of those extra posts being published every month. Y'all know I used it to literally create one of my websites, and it's doing amazing. So it's a really good way to lighten your load, but only when it's done correctly. On the flip side, signing up to do guest posting for someone else, I want to say it's a double-edged sword. That's not the word I'm looking for. You got to be mindful. Like, if you're just getting your stuff started, you probably shouldn't be signing up for every guest post opportunity out there. Because if you're busy helping other people build their house, who's going to build that wall on your house, right? Mm-hmm. We know we all do that as women. We're so busy pouring into everyone else that we never refill our own cup. But in blogging, it's very, very important. You can't, and I've had this happen, not with anyone on the screen now, but a year goes by after a boot camp, and I've had students reach out and say, it's been a year and I'm not making any traction on my blog. And I'm like, nicely, of course, I'm joking and sarcastic now, but y'all know I see everything, right? I'm literally in all the blogging groups, so I know what you've been signing up for. You've been so busy building other people's houses. How can you expect your house to be built? Like, it just does not work that way. So I'm not saying don't sign up for the opportunities, but if you're already struggling to get 4 posts out on your own site, why are you signing up for 4 posts that are due that same month for somebody else or somebody's else, multiple people? And I'm seeing that a lot because all the ladies in my membership, I get their list so that I can send it out to my email. So I see who's signing up for what. And it's like the same people signing up for everything. And I'm like, when are you going to work on your blog? So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't overcommit yourself. And I know a lot of those who have not gone through the boot camp, of course, some of them have products to sell, and they see it maybe as an opportunity to get more eyes on their product. I mean, I kind of get that, but that's the wrong mentality, right? y'all know my feelings. You're going to sell your product when you focus on serving an audience, not selling your product. Like focus on that. Stop focusing on trying to sell your stuff. So that was one thing I've seen. A couple of people have reached out recently, just dealing. Oh, you want to have guidelines. I'm sorry. So 1 comes from your content plan. 2, you give them an outline. 3, give them a date. Don't be open-ended, right? Because then you may never get it. Make 2 to 3 weeks max. That way they prioritize it. They know it's due soon, and you can plug it into your calendar, because we know planning and organization is key. And so give them, if you want to give them a reminder, give them a reminder. I personally don't. My feelings are, if you signed up for something, it's your responsibility to keep track of it, right? I would not work as a manager in a restaurant or business these days with all these young people thinking they can just, oh, well, you know, like excuses. And it's like, no, this is what time you're supposed to be at work. Be on time, right? So I apply that same mentality to my blog. But again, that's me. If you want to send reminders, that's totally on you. Have guidelines, like a list of almost like a contract, if you will, that spells out the do's and don'ts. So specifically, they can't put affiliate links. You should only put affiliate links on your own blog. No email sign up forms. My blog is for me to get me subscribers, not to get you subscribers. You get a link to your blog post in this. So make sure when they click the link to your blog that you have a sign up form there. You don't put your sign up forms on somebody else's website. I've had several different people. When I was doing my guest posting, I had several people that signed up ask me if they could do that, even though it was right there in the instructions. It says no. And I think they just don't understand. So I'm not like making fun or being mean. It's, if you don't understand the mechanics of it, then you don't know what you don't know. But your sign up form should be your blog. And if you're trying to get subscribers, then the post that I allow you to link to should have all the fertile soil laid for you to be able to get those subscribers or sell your product or whatever. Another thing is making sure they understand that once it's published, it's property of your blog. Like it's on your blog. The goal of it is so your blog gets traffic, right? They cannot republish the content elsewhere. I know that's a thing. Some people get these emails from like these websites where they want to republish your content. There was CrossCard or something like that recently was one that's doing it. That's a brand new site, by the way. I wouldn't. There's a way to do it with syndicating it. But unless it's a site like Crosswalk or something that's an established site, I wouldn't let them. Medium syndicates content. So you can republish your blog post on Medium. Like if you had a Medium account, it syndicates it. So it lets Google know that this was first published somewhere else. So letting them know that, letting them know, like, again, you guys are in the know about SEO. So again, what's the goal of you writing for my site? It's so my site gets traffic. So this post makes it to page 1 and gets traffic. In order to do that, you might need to make a few edits to it for SEO purposes, right? SEO edits, not the content per se. And then a year from now, we know we go and update older posts after they're a year old to keep them competitive, right? Because there's billions of pieces of content added to the internet. So a year from now, you may need to make updates to the post to make it a little more SEO competitive. So you got to let them know that up front. So a year from now, they don't go visit the post and be like, what? That's not my post. That's not what I sent you. You changed my words. And I've had people do that, even though they signed the contract. And so that's just, that protects your site. So you don't get hit with like duplicate content. You don't risk somebody republishing it elsewhere. And then that one, anything you publish should always be fresh. You should never republish something. If you're going to republish it, you need to rewrite it. Don't copy it verbatim. Make changes to it. But the big thing was when you make those edits, sometimes they feel that, well, you changed what I wrote. Well, SEO edits are very specific, right? You guys know that. It's not changing. Say you wrote about how people feel about, I don't know, whatever, the weather. You're not changing what they wrote and how they feel. You're maybe putting a heading or adding a keyword to make the SEO stick out. That's what SEO edits are. And that's important. Otherwise, why write the post? So it's just important to let them know that up front. And at the end of the day, if anyone, and usually it's because they really don't understand how SEO works, but I've had this happen a few times in the last few years where someone is like, they'll reach out to me because they have to submit the form, which is my contract. That's how I do it. And they're like, I'm a little concerned with, that you're going to make updates to my content and that this becomes your property and all, whatever their concern is. And I just let them know, look, this is my policy. Thank you for signing up. But if you feel uncomfortable with my policy, then that's okay. You can back out, right? But at the end of the day, this is my business or your business, right? You set the standard for it, the terms. And if they're not comfortable with it, then they don't have to write it, right? And so we need, as Christians, to be more comfortable with being stern like that, because this is a business. Even if you're not monetizing, you have to treat it like a business, because when you start making concessions, then they get out of hand. And then everybody wants, no, this is the rules. And again, it takes everything. Being in the military for 20 years, I'm like, no. I'm like, no, remember you're Jesus. Like, no, that's not how we're going to do it, But and you'll have a few people who'll test your patience. They'll keep trying and trying. And it's like, look, I am running a business here. And, I've had people say, well, I've been guest posting for 20 years. I'm like, okay, well, that don't mean you were doing it right. So, anyway, I just wanted, because I've had several people reaching out to me recently. I've had people respond to my guest post questions. Some of my membership ladies have had different people questioning their policies and different things. So I just wanted to put it out there. You don't know what you don't know. You guys know. Everyone on this screen should know, because y'all been through the boot camp. But anyone who watching this who hasn't gone through the boot camp and truly doesn't understand SEO and the purpose and how it works, there is a reason for it. We're not just sharing our feelings. We're answering search queries, and our content has to remain competitive in order for your message to reach there. Ultimately, let's get to that. If this post doesn't remain competitive, nobody's going to read the message that you have for them. That's what it comes down to. And so, but again, at the end of the day, anyone who's not comfortable, don't let them. I had one person who had someone that questioned it. They started feeling bad. Well, maybe my policy is too strict. And I'm like, no. This is actually, their policy was copied from mine exactly. So they stole my policy. They didn't steal it. I gave it to them. And I was like, no, this is a pretty standard, thing. So again, if you don't like it, you don't have to go through with it. Right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't like a restaurant's policy, you don't eat there. You don't beg them to change. I mean, well, we might beg them to change their policies nowadays, but anyway, so I just kind of wanted to hit on that. I see a lot of people doing really well with the guest posting now that they're understanding how to do it properly. But again, manage your time. Don't overcommit building other people's houses when you're still trying to get a foundation of yours put together. That's the biggest mistake I see a lot, is people signing up for multiple guest posts. I've had some that I've seen, because again, I see everything, that had signed up for some of mine, and then I didn't hear back from them. They're like, oh, I got so overwhelmed. I'm like, really? Didn't we have this conversation early on and you did it anyway? I have a 2 strikes rule. If you sign up for guest posts and forget about me, I get it if you get COVID or kid gets sick and you let me know, right? Then that's not a strike. But I've had some people who sign up and then I never hear from them, and the next route goes out, they sign up again. I'm like, you hadn't even turned in the first 2 you owe me. So I'll reach out to them and say, look, I'm nice about it. Like, I think you might have a problem with overcommitting yourself and doing too many things. So let's take a step back and focus on you know, 1 or 2 things, and then I give them like demerits. You cannot write for me for 6 months. No, I don't do that. Because I want you to be successful, or them, you know, it's not about my site. Yes, I mean, I have timelines and it impacts me when I don't meet those, but at the same time, I'm not doing my job if I don't. I mean, I'm here to teach you blogging, but a piece of that is time management. So if I don't teach you that, then I'm failing in the teaching of the blogging stuff. So anyway, I have these conversations in my head where I'm like, I'm gonna, but then when it comes out, I'm actually really nice to the people. Y'all know that. I've never been mean to
Yes.
anybody.
You're not mean at all.
I can give you a scolding and it sounds like a Sunday, you know, prayer out in the garden with butterflies.
I don't believe that.
But you're gonna understand what I was saying.
I just hopped on, but I think I hopped on at the perfect time, because I've seen myself do that. So like you just scolded me, because I have overcommitted so many times. And I think what I try to do is like kind of get my name out there, you know, my blog, well, not my name, but you know what I mean? Like trying to get my blog, some eyes on it, I guess, by guest blogging. And then I really don't have time. And then, you know, I'm stuck on the restraints that make it not like easy or fun, you know what I mean? Because like with my blog, I can write whatever I want, but I probably shouldn't not write whatever I want. Structure it a certain way. When I say write whatever I want, not write whatever I want, but like structure it a certain kind of way. And, you know, when I'm thinking that like the blogging is fun and I'm going to write, you know, oh, like I sign up and it's like prayers for your kids or whatever. And I'm like, ooh, I love that. You know what I mean? And then when I get the thing, the example of what it should look like, and I'm like, that's not what I thought it was going to be. But then instead of me saying, you know, that I, you know, instead, because, you know, when you sign up, when it's anybody's, it says just the name of what the blog is. But then once you get the example, it could be, you know, now it needs to be 2,500 words with one prayer for a young kid, one prayer for an adult kid, one prayer for this kid, one, you know what I mean, one prayer for the kids doing this, one prayer for the kids doing that. And then, you know, passages about whatever to go with it, you know. And so in my mind, it's like, oh, dang, like I didn't know it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be kind of like straightforward and then a prayer, you know, talk about it and then a prayer. But then it's like, I don't know how, like once you get into it, you know, and the due date is coming close, I don't know how to decline. You know what I mean? So I just ask for more time and just kind of maybe go from there. And I mean, I don't even know if I have signed up and not done it without saying. Now you got me thinking. Because I do sign up. I
want everyone to start thinking, because that's one of the big things, you know, and we're all guilty of it. So I'm totally making fun of everybody, but I've made fun of myself too, right? Like we got to have fun. So I try to, sometimes I have to be careful because someone on the audience will be like, oh my gosh, she's totally talking about me because I did that to her. It wasn't Darnita. She has not signed up for any of mine. So she totally did not get stolen.
You ain't checked. You might go back and check and be like, oh, she did.
No, but we all do it. And I want to backtrack to what you said about where you said, you know, I was thinking it might get me out there, not me, but my blog, you know, the self-promotion. We all think that if I guest post for someone else, then more people are going to see my blog. There is nothing wrong with that mindset, but that mindset, I should say there is something wrong with it. It's not bad that you think that way. We all think that way. How can I get myself out there? How can I get my blog out there? Because I want, you know, I'm sharing Jesus. I want people to see it. But we get tunnel focused on that. And again, it comes back to the serving part. When you learn how to serve, not sell, and not that you're trying to sell your blog, right? But the self-promotion, we consider that selling ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Selling what we're trying to do, marketing, if you will. We lose focus of the inner workings of it. Getting more people to your blog means you writing content that people are looking for. Like that's right. The equation. But for many, that is it's harder. It's a little more difficult because then I got to think and I got to plan and I just don't want to do all that. I just want people to come, right? Like we all think that way. And so getting people into that mindset of build your house first, right? So if you get all these people coming to your site via the guest blog you did for somebody else, do you really have a solid site for them to come visit, right? Do you need more content? Do you need to do a little bit more work on your house before you, like when you build a new home or move into a new house, you get it all decorated and everything before you have your housewarming party, right? You don't want people coming over when it's all kind of a mess. So you think of your blog that way too, but the more you pour into someone else's business, their blog is taking away from you being able to get yours to the level that it needs to be productive or whatever your end goals are with. So you're not alone. Everybody does it.
Yeah, I mean, because I need to work on my blog, and I think that makes, I mean, you building my own house, like that makes a ton of sense, because I just feel like I don't got the traffic, and it's like, okay, maybe I'll blog post. And then one thing that I'm even now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of times when I'm agreeing to do a blog post, I am agreeing to post something like that would be similar to my page. And I'm thinking maybe I should step away from that and do something that I wouldn't normally write, because I feel like every time I write a blog post, you know what I mean? Like, man, I could have used that for my site, and you can't go and put it in two places, so it's like, maybe if I'm guest blogging, do something that wouldn't necessarily be on my blog.
Well, but and a lot of people have kind of used that example as well, why they do it, but that's actually also not helping your blog. When you guest post for another site, it should be in the same niche, closely related to what your own site is about for SEO purposes, because in your guest post for the other site, you should be able to include a link to a blog post on your site. So if you're writing, and I'm just using this as an example, a blog post about dogs, well, what does dogs have to do with what you're doing on your site, right? So that SEO just flows from that link on the other site to your site, and Google reads that. And if they don't match, it sort of kind of takes away cool points from your SEO score. And so you always want to write content that, one, you have a blog post that you can link to that is in the same, if it was like, I don't know, family discipleship, and one of the things you had a post on your site about praying together before bedtime or something, right? That matches. It might not be a family discipleship blog. Maybe your site is about prayer and all kinds of prayer, but you have a post that the SEO just matches. So you always want to look for things, the opportunities for guest posting. You should always have a similar or related blog post on your site. Otherwise, it's really not helping you. Because again, the people are visiting that first blog post because of the topic. And then you link to your site and it's totally off topic. They're going to be like, why'd you send me here? So always look for opportunities that are within your same. Don't look for opportunities that are completely different just for the sake of doing something different, because that does not in any way help your blog.
Got it.
You're like, dang, I've been doing all of it wrong.
For real. I just want to get my blog, and I think this was last year. I mean, this is probably closer to the beginning of last year, like the last time that I was on one of these blogging calls with you, and you gave me some good direction and I didn't do it. And so it was like I still need to go back and build my house, you know what I'm saying? Get my house together. Because I want to, I'm not going to post every day. I know that I'm not going to post every day, but I want to start building it up, and then just kind of I see you posted about going and kind of edit your old blog post or something like that. And so I'm gonna try to do that and things like that. And I've been trying to work on the printables to put them somewhere, because I got a ton of printables and I just need to have them go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I need people to go to my website and get them, but I don't set it up right. And so I just stopped doing it.
Yeah, well, and just to kind of add to that, not picking on you, just pointing out things for
No,
what
that's good.
too many moving parts takes your focus away from the foundation. So,
Mhm.
the printables, as an example, that's kind of if you think of blogging as your high school or college level, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, right?
Mhm.
Kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
The foundation stuff, printables is more like a level 2, like, right? And so the printables actually shouldn't really be something you focus on right now, because there ain't nobody coming to see them, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
traffic is the foundation, focusing on content that people are Googling so they'll get to your site. And then you kind of look back and say, okay, what were my top 5 traffic posts this year? Let me make printables for those. But since you've already made printables, take a look at what they are. Do some Google research to see if there's search volume for those, like prayer printables, right? If you go prayer printables, you'll see people are actually looking for that. What's up? No, I'm gonna talk to you in a minute. Laundry, please, before you go anywhere. Dryer's full. Sorry, I have a teenager that I never see anymore. So when I get her, I'm like, you have chores to do.
I know the
Don't leave
feeling.
without doing those chores. Anyway, so you could do a post, for example, like let's say your site was all about prayer and you have all these cool prayer printables, whatever yours are. I don't know what they are, but I'm just using it as an example.
Actually about
Craft
prayer,
a post around the search query of prayer printables. So people looking for prayer printables would find yours. So if you've already made the printables, then go back to the keyword drawing board to see how people are searching for said printables, and then create content based on those keyword queries.
Got it.
For anyone who hasn't created printables, don't be creating printables until you have traffic, right? So it all comes to the order of doing things, and not trying to put, I think I've mentioned this when I talked to you the last time, God created the earth in the 6 days, right? And in each day was something in a very specific order, right? First, he separated the water and the land. Then, he added the vegetation, then he added the animals, and then the people, and so forth. If he had put people when the land was it was all water, we would have drowned, right? So doing things in the right order, in the right season, prepares it for the next season, so it will be fruitful. But if you do it out of order, one, you overwhelm yourself because you have so many things to be doing and none of them ever get done.
Yeah. And it's just there.
And it's just there, right?
Yeah.
Not benefiting anybody. So kind of reverse how you're approaching it and just focus on one, which is the traffic. Now you've already made the printables. How do I turn those printables into traffic? You find the keywords people are searching for that lead them to those printables. And then there's your problem solved. But you got to stay focused. The focus still has to be on the traffic, not the actual printables making itself. Like you've already made them, that's fine. But now we got to get traffic to them.
Okay. Got it.
All right. All right, y'all. What else? You're coming up on what time? It's almost 1 o'clock.
How time flies
I know.
when you're having fun.
Flies when we're having fun. Let me see. I think there was something else. No, I think the guest posting was really the only thing I wanted to hit on this week.
Yeah, because when you get to the point, so people do guest posting so that they have more content, correct? I mean,
Well, most people who aren't in the know, I should say, those who really don't understand the actual internal workings of blogging, which is most people when they get started blogging, they guest post in hopes of getting traffic to their site by way of that other person's audience.
right.
Assuming the other person's blog actually gets traffic, the reality is most of the guest posting opportunities out there are on sites that aren't even getting organic traffic. So really it's not a good investment. So that's the main reason. I'm hoping to get traffic from your audience. Others do it in hopes of, if they have products that they sell, that's another big one. People trying to sell their products, they want to guest post for you so they can insert their product into the post. Half the time the product has nothing to do with what the post is about. And they want to post it anyway, right? Ultimately, the right purpose of guest posting, two things. It serves, okay, so I'll use me. If you guest posted for me, for example, it helps me get more quality content because I gave you an outline, I gave you instruction, and what you're going to give me is going to be SEO'd enough that it will actually get organic traffic. So that's the number one goal, is to increase the traffic. On the guest posters end, let's say you in this scenario, the benefit is that my site gets a ton of traffic. I am a highly organic traffic website. So if you wrote for me, the chances of that post making it to page one are very high, which means the link in the post that leads to your blog, you will get referral traffic from it. So again, there's a lot of, it's not just I'm guest posting for people and I'm going to get traffic. One, they've got to have traffic to begin with. And most people don't. They're just like, hey, write for me to save me time. And then they just put more unproductive stuff on their site. Not that what you wrote was bad. It could be very good content, but if it's not written from an SEO standpoint, it's dead. Literally, they share it on Facebook that day and then nobody ever reads it again.
Right.
You want to write content that will be Googled for years to come and people will still find it. So guest posting is a very productive and fruitful aspect of blogging, but only when it's done the right way. Most people don't do it the right way, and therefore they never really see any fruit come from it.
Yeah. Got that.
All right. Well, it is 1 o'clock. I need to go see what my teenage daughter is conspiring. I don't see her anymore. She works nights, so like she closes. She takes 2 college classes now. So she's gone all day Tuesday and Thursday, and then she goes to work at 5 and doesn't get home until like midnight 30. So I literally never see her, and she knows I'm going to ask her to do something. So she's like, "Oh, bye, Mom, I gotta go." And
Right.
I'm like, where's my car? So yeah, I need to go spend some time with her.
How old is she?
She's 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was soon to be 16-year-old, and I kind of see that happening already.
Yeah, I mean, she's a good kid. Don't get me wrong. She's,
Right.
she's in church, and she's, so we withdrew her from school this year. This would have been her senior year, but she already kind of had, it's a whole long story. They wanted her to do a whole nother year, her senior year, and take 1 class. That's all she needed, was 1 class to graduate. So she's gonna have to take all these other classes just because. I'm like, no. So we withdrew her. She took her GED, and then she immediately enrolled in college. So she's spending her senior year in college instead of wasting it on the nonsense that's going on in the public school system right now.
Right.
Yeah. And she's been working, so she works full time. So she's earning money and, trying to
Good.
not, y'all know the school district's a mess right now. So at least she's being productive. She's saving money. She's learning. She has to pay bills. I'm like, you're not going to live for free. So yeah, but on the flip side, because she's going to school and working until midnight, I never see her anymore.
You don't see her.
Hey, come back. So yeah.
I get it.
Anyway, so all right. Well, everyone have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm. I think everyone's going to be kind of freezing this weekend. And I will see some of you on Wednesday. Otherwise, I'll see the rest of y'all hopefully Friday.
All right. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.